Hey, everybody, and welcome to another midweek Bible study with the West Main Church of Christ. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. As always, we want to start off with our fun thought of the week. And had somebody ask me this past week, Nathan, why do you always start with something like that? Why not just get straight into the lesson? And quite frankly, it's because with everything going on, we just need something fun to talk about instead of all the turmoil and the virus and everything that's going on right now. I thought it would be fun to just talk about something uplifting, right? So it is officially that time of year. It's that time of year that everybody starts looking forward to because your kids are out of school. You get to start making plans. Yeah, I'm talking about vacation season. I know that a lot of people love traveling over the summer, and I know that a lot of people are now figuring out where they want to go and how they want to go, even with the coronavirus and having to deal with all of that stuff. So I thought today it would be a lot of fun to talk about my 3 favorite places that I love to travel, because whether you're a camping person or you prefer to sit in a hotel and just wave at nature from a distance, a lot of us really enjoy traveling. And so here you go. These are my top 3 places that I love to go for vacation. Number 3 is Disney World. All right, this one makes the list because, quite frankly, if I didn't have it on here, I would get a whole lot of grief from my wife. But all in all, I do enjoy Disney. It is a fun place. My only caveat is I never actually considered Disney a vacation. See, my philosophy is that if you come back from the trip more exhausted than before you left, it's not a vacation. Disney is a fun trip to take, and I encourage a lot of people to do so, but I don't call it a vacation. However, I love the food at Disney World, and the overall atmosphere is a lot of fun. So Disney does make my list. And, if I am a little bit more tired than before I left, it's not a huge ordeal. Number 2, Denver, Colorado. And although I don't spend a whole lot of extended time out in Denver, I generally get to go once a year for just a few days for the Bear Valley Bible lectureships. But I love traveling out to Denver. It is absolutely beautiful. Nature out there is amazing. The landscapes are awesome. Every time I've been, the weather has been absolutely perfect. Spending my entire life down in the South, it is so nice to be able to spend a few days where the humidity is 0. And Denver is just a super pretty place. Food out there is fantastic as well. Everybody knows, and I'm going to mention that, again, but everybody knows the whole reason you go on vacation is because you want to eat, right? But my number 1 favorite place to travel is the beach. I love the beach. I've been to a number of beaches over the course of my lifetime, and I just absolutely love the beach. You may think that's really weird, especially me being a redhead, being out in the sun all day. Not a lot of people are a fan of sand, and it's not even that sort of stuff. It's just how much I love the beach. The ocean is beautiful. I love the relaxing vibe that you get, and yes, there's always the fresh seafood when you go to the beach. At this point in my life, I don't really even care so much what beach it is, just as long as I'm at the beach and there's a golf course nearby. But that is my favorite place to vacation, is the beach. I'm a beach person. Some people are mountain people, and that's cool too. That's an honorable mention on my list. I've been to Gatlinburg a number of times, and I do enjoy the mountains. But that right there is my 3 favorite places to travel to or vacation. There's still a number of places on my list that I haven't gotten to go to yet that I hope at some point I get to go to. But as I said before, thank you so much for tuning in and watching this video. I hope that something I say tonight can help you, can uplift you. I hope you've been having a good week, staying safe. Remember, if you're part of my West Main family, to stick around at the end of this video so that we can fill you in on some announcements. So as I was scrolling through Facebook this week, I found a kind of a funny sign, right? It was a sign that had been put up by a local park. And the sign says, "Patience, please. This year's mess is next year's glory." And they had put this up because they were redoing all their landscaping. And I saw that, and the only thing I could think of was, wow, how appropriate is that for the year of 2020? Because really, truly, aside from my son being born, that was awesome. That was the highlight of 2020. That happened in January, and since then, it's kind of all really been downhill. Don't get me wrong. I've loved watching my son grow up over just the past few months. But 2020 has been, let's face it, not what really anybody expected. And so as I was looking at this and I was thinking about this sign, it made me start thinking about growing. flowers growing, plants growing, and this idea of growth. You remember as a little kid where maybe you was your door frame, or maybe it was a spot in your house, but you would go and, I don't know, once a month or every few months you'd go and you'd make a little tick or a pencil mark on a door frame, and you'd actually track how much you grew. I don't actually think I did this as a kid, but I always remembered seeing it in like movies and TV shows, and I thought it was really cool, and it was a very solid visual way to keep track of how much you actually grew up over the course of time. And something that I find really interesting is, for everybody that did this, you never ever found somebody that didn't expect to not grow, right? From the time that you're 6 to the time that you're 7, 8, 9, 10, you always expect to see those tick marks continue to get higher. In fact, by the time that you're no longer actually growing as a human being, you've probably stopped keeping track of your growth for years. But here's the funny thing about growth, and this is what I want to focus on tonight. Number one, growing means being under a whole lot of stuff. So let's think about it this way. Think of yourself as a seed. I don't care what kind of seed it is. Maybe it's your favorite vegetable or favorite fruit or a sunflower seed. I don't really care. But think of yourself as a seed. You want to grow. And quite frankly, you expect to grow. But in order to do that, what has to happen? You have to be buried. Better yet, you actually have to be planted. You see, the problem is, in life, a lot of times we want to see the growth from ourselves without actually having to go through the process. How many of us have ever given up on a hobby because we didn't see the growth as quickly as we wanted to, and so we just didn't put forth any of the effort? Maybe it was learning guitar. Maybe it was a sport. Maybe you're still trying to lose that first 5-10 pounds of your diet, and you're just not putting forth the same amount of effort. You just want to see the easy results. I mean, after all, our society is built around an easy access to the things that we want, whether it's weight loss, whether it's getting good at something quickly. We all want to be able to see the growth without having to go through the process, without having to be buried under anything. But you see, life has a really, really funny way of piling stuff on top of us. As you go through life, if you live long enough, you're going to be under a whole lot of different things. You're going to be understressed. You're going to be underappreciated, maybe underpaid. Right now, I think a lot of us are under pressure, and we think that just because we're under all these things, it means that we can't grow. When in actuality, it's the exact opposite. You see, when you plant a seed, you don't just throw it on top of the ground and hope something sprouts. No, what do? You dig a little hole for it, and then you bury it underneath a whole bunch of soil, and then you cover that with fertilizer, and then you top that with water. And you do that over and over and over and over again because you want the best results possible for whatever it is you're trying to grow, whether it's for a science project or a backyard garden. James chapter 1 and verse 3, as well as Romans chapter 5, verses 3 through 5, they both tell us that when things get tough, that's when we see the true results. You see, we also have to remember that God knows exactly what we're going through. And even though sometimes we think that we're being buried, actually, we're just being planted. And that brings us to number 2. You have to want to see the growth. And what I mean by this is you have to be willing to put in that work that makes growth possible. Here's where most of us tend to go wrong. What happens is we decide that as the seed, we know what's best for us. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but stay with me. We decide that as the seed, we know what's best for us. And so when things start to get piled on top of us, what we'll do is we'll simply uproot from that environment and move to another, easier, more comfortable environment. If you've ever tried growing a garden, you know that you don't get to start picking any of your fruits or vegetables after the first day. You really don't even get to start picking them after the first week or 2, or even 3 or 4, sometimes 5, depending on what you've planted. What you have to do is you have to use the time, because only over the course of time are the results that you want really going to start producing. And that's what's so funny about us as seeds. We constantly get ourselves in a situation where we're uncomfortable and we just want to move from environment to environment to environment. And if we continue to do that, we're never really going to see the results that we claim that we want. But part of wanting to grow is actually wanting the results. One of my favorite things that Jerry Barber used to say, I got to work with him in Sykeston. He used to say, why are things the way that they are? And you can apply this to nearly every situation out there. Why are things the way that they are? Because people like it that way more than what it would take to change them. Right now, there's a whole lot of talk about change, and we continue to talk about how we can make things better. But in actuality, if we're not willing to go through the work, nothing changes. So, as the seed, if we continue to uproot ourselves from the environment that God has put us in, how can we ever expect to grow? It takes effort, it takes patience, and it takes being willing to understand and see that we are where we are for a reason. Even if that reason is that you've made a bunch of really dumb decisions and now you're paying for the consequences. But we are where we are for a reason, and every situation that we're in can't deter us. Because the fact of the matter is, regardless of where the circumstance that we find ourselves is God has the ability to use it for our growth as well as His glory. And as Christians, that's our goal. Our goal is to grow in Christ and make sure that everybody realizes exactly who God is. Because let's face it, the world has done a good enough job of showing us who God isn't. Thank you guys so much for watching this video with me. My West Main family, I have just a few announcements for you. Number one, if you have not already done so, you can find it on our Facebook page or our YouTube page, but go and watch the Return to Worship video that we've put out earlier this week, and that'll do a pretty good job of explaining all the guidelines about how it'll look when we come back to church this Sunday, June the 14th. Super excited about that. Also, pay attention on Facebook. We're going to continue to give updates about virtual Maywood. Maywood was supposed to be starting on Sunday the 14th and going through that Friday. This third session is doing all of their stuff online. So please be sure to stay on Facebook, stay in touch with me if you want to be a part of that. They should be putting stuff out there every single day, I think all day long. So if you haven't on Facebook, find Maywood Christian Camp third session. And follow that group, and go to YouTube. The YouTube page is called Maywood 3. Okay, the little symbol for the page is just the letter 3. It looks kind of like Dale Earnhardt's number 3 that they've got on YouTube. So be sure to stick around and remember that. Also, if you have not heard my update about Horizons, Horizons is going to be pre-recorded online sessions all day that Monday and Tuesday. That's going to be July, I think it's like the 5th and 6th. Okay, so be sure to stay tuned for that. I'll give you more information as that gets closer. In the meantime, I hope that you all are still staying safe. If you're going to be here Sunday, I cannot wait to see you. If you're not, that's totally fine. We understand. But be sure, regardless of if you're going to be at church or not at church this Sunday, stay in touch with one another. Okay, I've tried to stress that as much as I can throughout the course of the last few months, but we have to be willing to stay in touch with each other and make sure that everybody's okay. So thank you again for watching this video. I love you all. I can't wait to see you again. Thanks.